resident in Allen County. And our goal as ACRE, Allen Auglaize Coalition for Reasonable Energy, is to foster community education and engagement around renewable energy. We're focusing specifically on the Birch Solar Project proposal in Shawnee Township. This press conference offers the chance for local citizens and officials to describe how the project affects them. Our group has spent the last few months learning about the solar industry, studying how Ohio handles new power generation proposals, and talking with many local community leaders and residents. After reaching out to representatives of Lightsource BP, which is the investor in the Birch Solar Project, and reading their plan submittals to the Ohio Power Siting Board, we are pressing them on their obligations and commitments to the community. So we have 6 speakers, including 2 school superintendents, a union leader, and 3 Shawnee residents. Each will give a statement limited to 3 minutes, and then we'll have a moderated question period at the end. And before starting, I want to make clear that the superintendents are not here to endorse the Birch Solar Project or even solar power in general, but they've agreed to educate us on how their schools stand to benefit from the substantial new revenue the project would bring if it's approved and built. So again, thanks everyone for being here. I want to turn it over to our first speaker, Michael Wildermuth, a local resident. Michael?
I first heard of the Birch Solar Farm project last fall and was initially surprised to hear so much spoken against it. I thought that electricity produced through solar panels was clean and something to be desired. So I listened to the public meetings, read the company's materials, read the public comments, and contacted organizations I respect to learn their perspective. I learned that the authority to approve such projects resides with the Ohio Power Siting Board, and I learned of the substantial economic impact the project will have on local schools and governments. The more I read, the more I studied, I couldn't see a reason why we would not want this in our community. You know, there's been tremendous excitement over the announcement of a Peloton plant in Wood County, a $400 million investment. You know what? Birch Solar is on the same scale of development, nearly $400 million right here in our community. And it is a community development dream project. There'll be no tax abatement, no water, sewer, or road development needed, and the revenue is pure revenue, not tied to a specific use. Schools and governments can use it for whatever needs they perceive, and it preserves farmland. What other development would do that? At the end of the 30-year projected life of the project, the solar panels can be removed and farming resumed. Family farms can remain family farms. And it preserves the rural character of our landscape. These panels are scarcely taller than corn stalks and will be behind fences and landscaping. Whatever the drawbacks of the project, the economic benefits and environmental benefits seem so overwhelmingly positive that I think it would be a great lost opportunity, one we would regret if this project fails to materialize here. It's truly important to consider what this would mean to the community over 30 years. Without the solar farm, landowners will likely begin selling off parcels for residences, storage facilities, subdivisions, increasing water runoff, pressuring sewer and water systems, increasing traffic, and placing greater demands on our school systems. Who wants that? We're told that $81 million will go to local schools and governments over 30 years, making this the single largest revenue source for government in Allen County. I said the single largest revenue source for government in Allen County. Why say no? Speaking with others who've gone through developments like this, I was cautioned, don't miss this. This is a generational opportunity that can set up financial security for decades. The public need to hear what we all stand to lose if we miss this opportunity. I want to pass things over to James Knable now, Superintendent of Shawnee Local Schools, for the next presentation. And again, let me make clear that the school superintendents speaking today are here just to educate us on the benefits the project would bring to their districts. They are not making an endorsement of the project, either expressly or by implication. Jim?
Thank you, Mike. As you stated, we have received information from both Birch Solar and other entities as far as the potential impact over a 30-year period this would have on our district. That is contingent on how it is accepted. In Ohio, it's under great debate in our state house right now as far as a new funding proposal, the Cupp-Patterson bill folded into the current budget bill. That will dramatically change everything we're talking about now. Where we financially personally sit right now, Shawnee School District is what is known as a capped district. By that, it means that our property values per student in our district exceed the highest quartile of our state. And with that, any new building or new development that goes on in our district really does not improve our state funding. Now, of course, local funds and those types of things are and will continue to impact as far as those growths occur. But our state funding is not or will not change. And that unto itself leads to the Ohio Power Siting Board decision. If this project is approved by them at that point, a decision then goes to each county's commissioners. And based upon those commissioners' decision to accept a pilot proposal has the greatest impact on Shawnee District. If our commissioners choose to accept the pilot proposal, Shawnee will get the type of dollars that are being talked about. If they choose not to accept the pilot proposal, all the money collected will go to the state, and from the state, then it goes to the formula, which means that very little, if any, will actually come back to the local school district at that point, because we are, again, a capped district. We can't get any more money from the state based upon our already established property values. And when you hear me talk about things, the one thing I will endorse is I will endorse the new proposed Cupp-Patterson bill that lies in the budget at the State House. To me, that will be the greatest long-term impact to all schools, all children being educated in our state.
Thanks, Mr. Knable. Let's see, our next speaker, we're going to hear from Mike Rupert. He's an administrator in IBEW Union Local 32. Mike, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Andy. Good afternoon. My name is Mike Rupert, and I'm business manager, journeyman wireman of IBEW Local 32, right here in Lima, Ohio. I probably represent 280 members in 7.5 counties around Lima, including Allen and Auglaize Counties, where the Birch Solar Project is to be located. I want to talk to you today about local jobs for local workers. These solar jobs are jobs that provide a living wage and family sustaining benefits. Too many people focus on the full-time jobs the project will provide after construction is over. But today, discount the jobs during, but totally discount the jobs during construction. I want to focus today on the approximate 400 construction jobs that this project can create. The construction industry is different than any other due to the nature of the industry and the competition among contractors. Our members work as hard as they can to work themselves out of a job. Then we go to the next one and do it all over again. Our members then take the money they earn and spend it at the grocery store, the car dealerships, the hair salons, and other local businesses. My members may make a 40-year career working one job at a time. The Birch Project can provide many local residents with a pathway to a career in the electrical industry. At the end of their career, they have a pension that provides a respectable retirement with health care as well. These 400 construction jobs are important to me and my members, and also the community whose business they support. The pilot program is an acronym for payment in lieu of taxes. When the county adopts the pilot program for renewable energy generation project, many benefits come up with that. Including in that list is a requirement that 80% of the construction workforce must reside in the state of Ohio. Again, local jobs for local workers. Birch Solar Project has asked the county commissioners to approve the pilot agreement. We think this would be a great thing for our members with the potential of 400 construction jobs this project represents. We've been sharing our skill set with the Birch Solar team, and we are encouraged where their conversation has led. We fully expect the company to commit to the local job creation that our members in our community is in need of. It's been a pleasure working with the Birch Solar team, and we are proud to support this project in our community. Before I close, and I know we're not here to talk about legislation today, but I just want to say that we are very disappointed in the action that the Senate took yesterday on Senate Bill 52. We feel that their action could put a chilling effect on solar development in Ohio and will put the potential 54,000 solar construction jobs coming to this state in jeopardy. We're hopeful that the House of Representatives under Speaker Bob Cupp's leadership will side with businesses, labor, schools, farmers, and all the other stakeholders opposed to that bill and correct this wrong-headed thinking. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I think Andy may have dropped somehow. So we'll move on now to Carol Daly. She's a Shawnee resident.
Hi, am I there?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Carol Daly and I've been a Shawnee resident for 24 years. And what I like about Shawnee, it is a diverse community. I've been happy here. Recently, I've heard negative comments about the solar farm that is proposed for Shawnee. The one comment that sent me researching was that solar burns birds. Well, since I am an animal lover, that sent me looking for more information regarding solar energy. Not true about the birds, but I learned so much more. I was surprised about the benefits. I have a problem here. Can you hear me? No.
Yeah, I can hear you. There was a little sound for a while, but keep going, Carol.
I was surprised about the benefits that solar brings to the community. For example, 1.5 million will go to the schools each year. Also, I learned from farmers that by allowing their farmland to lay fallow for 30 years with no chemicals being added each year, it allows the land to recover. And in addition, cannot be sold off to real estate developers. There is so much more positive available about solar. I am satisfied about the information I gained by researching the Birch Solar Farm. I encourage others to learn more about solar. Research is easy. The information is available about the Birch Solar Farm, and you'll be surprised at the positive information you will gain. In addition, I support alternative energy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carol. Appreciate you sharing your experience with this. We're going to move to Aaron Rex. Aaron, you want to go ahead?
Well, first of all, thanks for inviting me today. I think it's always good to learn more about these issues, and that's what we've been doing at Wapakoneta City Schools, is trying to become educated about the Birch Solar Project. And at this time, we've been approached by 2 different companies about upcoming solar projects that will be coming to Auglaize County. And during that time, we've considered the Birch Solar Project just like any other business or industry that would come to the area. The benefit to the school system is obviously through the tax base or a payment in lieu of taxes. And we partnered with Shawnee, Allen County, and Auglaize County to determine if the project does go through, what the benefit would be in terms of keeping it the traditional tax base or a payment in lieu of taxes. So that's where we are in the project right now. And maybe you know this already, but Wapakoneta has a solar farm that the city owns, and they're currently putting up another solar farm. So I don't know that it's new to the area, but it may be new to the people who may be having it closer to their homes. And so we're just doing our best to listen, doing our best to educate ourselves. We are offering a solar camp at our middle school this summer so kids can learn about solar energy and then go home and share that information with their parents. And up to this point, the meetings with Birch Solar have been very open. They've talked with us about, their plans for the project. And again, we're here to listen to them and listen to our citizens. Being that the first project is primarily in Allen County, we haven't heard much from our citizens yet, but probably in the future, we'll come to know more about how people feel about it. And we're open to listening to all those people.
Hi, it's Andy. I'm back. I'm the moderator. I'm jumping in. I was cut off. Mr. Rex, are you just finishing up?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. And I think I missed, did Carol get a chance to speak?
She did.
Okay, thanks everyone. I apologize for that. We have one more speaker. Maren Harbor is a local resident. Maren?
Good afternoon. My name is Maren Harbor. Education and a lot of hard work have gotten me to where I am today. I'm a PhD ecologist who has worked extensively with our most basic form of solar power, plants. I work in research at a major food company, and I work a second job teaching statistics at a major land-grant university. But I value education most of all because my two children, James and Max, are students in Shawnee local schools. I know how public education enriches lives, improves employment opportunities, and promotes personal responsibility. During recent years, however, Shawnee local schools has run a $2 million annual deficit. One consequence is the district cut talented and gifted programming, which my older son enjoyed. Another is that my younger son's textbook is obsolete and literally held together with duct tape. During this pandemic, our children were at greater risk of contagion because of the antiquated air circulation systems and crowding in our schools versus surrounding schools. Now, after many fruitless attempts, our district finally passed the school levy this past spring. But even with that, we will continue to run in the red. Enter the Birch Solar Project. The benefits from this project beyond cleaner, renewable energy include education. Our school district will receive $1 million annually. Our local career center will have a real-world laboratory to train workers in renewable energy technologies. Now, most of us are cautious about development near them. And I understand. I can see and hear the oil refinery from my house at all hours of the day. But I know that that industry means jobs and that it provides energy that we all use. And I know that this solar project will have those exact same benefits. And finally, I understand that refusing this project comes at a cost to us all. If this solar project is not approved, all of Shawnee will pay, whether we like it or not. We will either have fewer educational opportunities for our children, or we will be forced to pay greater taxes to maintain what we have now. In other words, all of us will subsidize the privilege of a select few who think that solar powers and native plants will offend them. In other words, it will be a new entitlement program that we cannot afford. So in closing, the Birch Solar Project is a singular opportunity for Shawnee to lead in both education and the economy of the future. Thank you.
Maren, thank you. And thank you all for your insightful comments. I'm hoping panelists, if you could remain available as you're able for questions. Those who are in the chat, or those who are on the call with us, if you have a question, indicate your name and affiliation in the chat box, and Molly will call on you with your question. So I'll defer to Molly if there's anything pending.
Does
And
anyone
thanks.
have any questions? I don't see anyone writing in the chat yet, but we'll just give it about a minute or so.
WDN reporter has her hand up, or has his hand up.
Great, go ahead.
Hello. I just wanted to ask, the number one concern I guess I've heard from area landowners was about property value. I don't know if anybody wanted to speak to that.
Yeah, that's a great question, Michael.
I can only say that there are a couple of studies that have been done by universities around the country that indicate that it doesn't seem to have much effect on land value one way or the other. And here locally, we just have anecdotal evidence that there was a recent sale of a property of a landowner who was concerned about the encroachment of the solar farm, which obviously isn't even approved yet. But so they precipitously decided that they wanted to get out while the getting was good. They put their property up for sale and sold it at the list price in less than a week. That's only an anecdotal evidence, but like I say, the university studies are inconclusive that there's a big change one way or the other. You know, there is some reason to believe that the property values would actually increase, because for 30 years, you're going to know that your neighborhood is stable, you know, and who among us can say that today? You know, we don't know what's going to happen, who's going to move in next door, or what kind of new plant or factory or store or whatever can go in, but you would have in the knowledge around this area with the solar farm that's going to stay stable for 30 years. That, to a lot of people, is something that would increase the value. So I think that's about all we can say on it.
Thanks for your question. Any others?
I saw Chris Elstro was asking for before and after photos. Chris, for this, do you want to clarify what you mean there?
In my dream world, we'd be seeing sketches. I'm sorry, I'm new to this. I shouldn't be, but I am. But thanks for doing this today. In my dream world, we'd be seeing sketches of where this is, how much land it takes up. Is it going to be surrounded by trees? I've read some positive things about landscaping, etc. But even just images or a Google Maps picture of the area would
All
be,
of that,
I think.
yeah, all of that information is necessarily part of the submittal that LightSource had to put before the Ohio Power Siting Board. And it is extremely detailed. We've been looking that over. It's also been modified after months of talk with the farmers and other locals. The company has all sorts of images, I think exactly what you're talking about, that are available in their press kits and on their website. So certainly a Google Map version is available as well. So yeah, all that information is out there, and that's part of the thing that we're hoping to get this information freely available through the press. But it's out there publicly, yes.
I would like maybe next time if we have a meeting that we show these photos.
Sure.
Whatever ones you think are most definitive.
Yeah, and if you leave us your contact information, we can try to send you the links where you can look at those. There, as Andy has suggested, you know, there are maps that show the project, and the project was proposed, and then based upon community feedback, they actually changed the scale of the project because they realized people didn't want it so close to them. So the company has changed that, but there's a price for everything, because the company told me when we talked with them, we said, you know, we're disappointed in you, LightSource BP, because you're not buying Ohio-made panels. And they said, well, we were going to buy Ohio-made panels, but when we got the community feedback that they wanted us to scale back the size of it, we had to put in higher capacity panels to generate the same amount of electricity. And those panels come from China instead of Ohio. So the community feedback has already cost a lot of Ohio, what could have been Ohio jobs manufacturing those panels right here in Ohio. So, you know, that's kind of the stuff that goes on. But they have maps that show where the footprint of the thing is, and then they also have photographs that show a current scene and then an artistic rendering of what it would look like with the panels in place. And it's quite informative. And we'll try, like I say, if you leave us your contact information, we'll try to get those links to you because it really is helpful to see them. Thank you for your question.
Thanks, Michael. In the chat, there's a question from Bob Tomaszewski. Hope I'm saying that right. Of the Wapak Daily. I'll just read it, Bob, if I'm happy to do that. He's posing a follow-up question. Would there be strategies for working with local government on an energy development district if SB 52 passes? Michael, do you want to treat that one as well?
There we go. Well, Senate Bill 52 did pass yesterday in the Senate, but it goes on to the House now. And honestly, those of us who believe these kinds of things are good ideas are setting our store in Speaker Robert Cupp. We think that he's so far shown himself to be a measured, reasonable person who has a lot of experience in various forms, in various government capacities. And so our current thoughts are to try to work with Speaker Cupp to get what we think might be a fairer hearing in the House of Representatives concerning the future of Senate Bill 52 and whether it actually becomes law or not. So I would have to say, in response to your question, it's a little premature for us at this point in time. You know, we're not accepting the fact that Senate Bill 52 is law, which it isn't. And like I say, we have some faith in Robert Cupp as a reasonable person that we can at least speak to. And I can say personally, I've argued with him before, sometimes successfully and sometimes not. But we enjoy having the ability to talk with him, and that's where we want to put our efforts in the near future.
Thanks, Michael. Any more questions for our superintendents or union official? Anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly, I know there was the question about the property value. I don't know if anyone had, I remember seeing something about the company making some kind of commitment with respect to folks concerned about their property values. Does anyone want to weigh in on what they know about that?
Yeah, I can say a few things about it. One is that, first of all, if you're a property owner and the solar farm is going to, come near you, they have been willing, when I say they, I'm talking about the Birch Solar people, have been willing to pay money for that. Like if on one side of your property, they'll give you a cash payment of $10,000. If it happens to actually surround your property, they give you a cash payment of $50,000. And the other thing is that they would guarantee the sale of your house for a year. I think it's a year or 3 years. Don't quote me on that, but there is a period of time, at least a year, where you can sign up with them. And if at the end of the year you don't like it and you want to get the money for your house and move somewhere else, they'll give you the full price guaranteed. So these are things that the company are trying to do. Our experience, and I'm not a landowner near there, but just like Mike Rupert from the IBEW said, we found the company to be quite open in discussing what issues are and trying to see what they can do. Like I said, I don't think that always works out, just like when we lost the ability to get the Ohio solar panels manufactured here in Ohio, but they are willing to listen. And I think Mr. Rex from Wapakoneta said the same thing. They've had open discussions with the solar companies. And so the solar companies want to see this work, and they're trying to do something to appease the local property owners. One of the things that was mentioned to me by the staff of one of the legislators was that when they put in the nuclear power plant up along the lake, everybody was against it. Nobody wanted to see it up there. And they put in the nuclear power plant. Now it's getting toward the end of life and they're talking about taking it out. And he said, everybody wants to see it stay. They don't want to lose the tax money. They don't want to lose the jobs. So, people's perceptions of these things change over time in terms of what they think are the costs and benefits of it.
We have two more questions queuing up in the chat. I want to address the first one quickly. I think it's from Chris Elstro. I'm hearing all positives. Are there any negatives? Any perceived negatives? That's an interesting question, and certainly the negatives have been floated, and I'm not going to dignify some of the misinformation that we've heard by mentioning it, but many of the reasons that we give as our idea of positives to some are negatives. For example, rural character. Does this hurt rural character? And it's a matter of, I think we have to talk through it. We certainly have to decide what we want for rural character. If anyone else has anything to say on the negatives, a telling point in the Lima News last week, Mr. Jim Thompson, who is involved with a group that's opposing us, and was quoted there as saying, "We have nothing against solar power." They were taking some objections on other fronts, and that's an interesting point of agreement that we have then with a group opposing and supporting the solar. Is that the solar power is not anything that we're arguing about at this point. There are community issues that we're talking about, certainly. There is another question from the WDN reporter asking about a timeline for pilot and non-pilot evaluation. I know that once OPSB, if it should pass their approval, the Ohio Power Siting Board, it would then work its way eventually to the commissioners in the county for evaluation on whether to accept the pilot or not. So we're certainly not there yet, and the commissioners have stated that they are studying that, and when it falls to them, they will grapple with that.
Yeah, I would say, Andy, to add in here that, Wapakoneta City Schools, as Mr. Rex mentioned, and Mr. Knable from the Shawnee local schools, they are participating with Allen County and the Apollo JVS, and is Auglaize County involved with that too? I think they are. And what they said was, let's study this. In other words, all of a sudden this stuff gets dropped into the laps of county commissioners or local trustees, and it's like, they don't deal with on a day-to-day basis. So, and the superintendents certainly have plenty of stuff to keep them busy day in and day out. So the thought was, let's contract with a consulting company who looks through all these things and will evaluate this and tell us, this is option A and this is option B. This is actually what's going to happen if you choose one or the other. And I had so much admiration for our county commissioners in initiating. I felt that the Allen County commissioners were instrumental in initiating that process, and I was really appreciative of the fact they're taking a measured approach. Let's get information and let's make our decision based on information that we had. Let's not just because a bunch of people jump up and say one thing or a bunch of people jump up and say the other thing. Let's jump to the tune. They're taking a measured approach and actually studying this, which is really what we would want any of our local officials or any of our governmental officials to do. I applaud them.
Michael.
I'm going to, sorry, Carol, I have to wrap this up now. Maren had indicated that she had one more thing to say on this topic. So I'm going to let Maren, Shawnee Township resident, have the last word here. Maren?
Thank you, Andy. I just wanted to comment on rural character, a little more about my background. I'm an ecologist, a plant ecologist, but where I apply that is in farming, in the production of corn and soybeans and other food crops. So I spent many years working in the countryside. And as far as rural character goes, the countryside has always been about being industrious. Farming is hard work. It is very technical work. It has always been about managing the landscape and its stresses. So being industrious is nothing new. What is new is this suggestion that a farmer should not be able to commit their land to being industrious in a new possible way. What's new is this curtailing of land rights in the countryside. And finally, the other thing that's new, to end on a more positive note, is the amount of biodiversity that this would bring in. And biodiversity is a key to helping our farmers and our farm ecosystems, providing habitat for beneficial insects and moderation of the environment. So in terms of how this would affect, rural communities or rural lifestyle, I only see positives in this project going forward. Thank you.
Aaron,
Could I have one last word, Andy? And I would just say, what we're asking for people is what the people who oppose this, we're asking a simple question. What is it that you propose that's going to bring in $361 million of development and $81 million of revenue over the course of the next 30 years? What's your proposal?
a good question to put out into the community. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. To our panelists, I really appreciate your time. Journalists, yours as well. Do not hesitate to reach out to us at the contact information that you saw in the media advisory, or any of us personally. We're delighted to talk about this at any time. So with that, I will conclude the call, and thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, everyone.